All right, get ready, because today we're going deep into the world of relationships.
Oh, relationships, always a good time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but specifically those times when your past and your present kind of like, I don't know, crash into each other.
Oh, yeah. And
There's
especially,
all those cultural expectations swirling around.
absolutely, right? It's like we all think, oh, love, it's a universal language.
Yeah.
But the reality is it can be so different depending on where you come from and what you've experienced?
Totally. And the source material we're diving into today, oh, it shows this
Hey,
perfectly.
this is a good one.
It's really good. So we're looking at this message from a guy named Yahia,
Okay.
and he reached out to this relationship advisor, Zack Wakasa.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, on his YouTube channel and Yahia's story. It's so raw and honest.
Like really putting it all out there?
Yeah, and what makes it even more fascinating is like this real-life dilemma unfolding right in front of us.
Oh, wow. So we're getting like a front row seat to this.
Exactly. It reminds us that relationships, they can be so complicated.
They really can.
Even with the best intentions, you can end up in these situations where it's like unspoken expectations
Yeah.
or conflicts that just keep popping up.
It's like that saying, right? Love is a battlefield.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels that way for sure.
So let's break down Yahia's situation.
Okay, lay it on me.
So he's an Ivorian man,
Mm-hmm.
spent years building a life abroad.
Yep.
He has a son with an older American woman.
Okay.
They're not together anymore.
Right.
But here's the thing. They separated amicably,
Oh, so that's good at least.
and they're still close friends.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Yeah. And this is where things get a little, well,
Messy.
yeah, messy. Yahia is now married to a younger Ivorian woman,
Okay.
and she is having a really, really hard time accepting his past and his continued relationship with his ex.
Yeah, that's tough, especially when you throw in the whole blended family dynamic, right?
Exactly. And all those anxieties that can come up.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're trying to build a relationship with someone who has this significant past, especially with kids involved,
It's a lot to navigate.
it really is.
And Yahi is clearly caught in the middle here. Right?
Yeah, I can only imagine.
He loves his wife,
Mm-hmm.
he respects his ex,
Yeah.
and he wants to be a good dad to his son.
Oh, and it sounds like he's trying to do it all right.
He is. He even emphasizes that he has no romantic feelings for his ex, but his wife's reaction, well, it suggests that might not be enough.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like there's some deeper stuff going on there.
There is. It's like she's afraid of losing him.
To the woman who already gave him a child.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a whole other level of fear and insecurity right there.
It is. And he shares these details that are just, I don't know, heartbreaking.
Oh, no. What happened?
So his wife found photos of him and his ex
Mm-hmm.
and demanded he burn them.
Wow.
And any mention of their shared past, even like the smallest things,
Mm.
turns into an argument.
So it's like she's trying to erase that whole part of his life.
Yeah, like it never happened.
That's a lot of pressure? Like she's comparing herself to this ghost from his past.
And as if that wasn't enough, Yahia mentions that his wife is struggling to conceive.
Oh, wow. Okay, so now we're adding another layer here.
They've both seen doctors, and it seems like the issue is on her side.
Oh, that's got to be so hard for her, especially, in many African cultures, having children, it's a really big deal.
It's huge. It's tied to a woman's identity, her worth in society.
So she's dealing with her husband's past, the pressure to have kids, and then the fact that she's having trouble conceiving.
It's a lot, and it's all kind of colliding with their relationship, their present, their future, everything.
It's like a perfect storm of anxieties and cultural expectations.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to leave it for now. But we're going to get into how this relationship expert, Zack Mwekassa, approaches this whole situation.
I'm intrigued because this is complicated.
It is, and Zack offers some really insightful advice. It goes way beyond just like, talk more.
Because sometimes it's not that simple, is it?
It's not. He really digs into what Yahia's wife might be going through, acknowledging her anxieties, her fears.
That's got to be so validating for her.
And he points out that, hey, her insecurities are understandable.
Especially given the cultural context, right?
Yeah, like the pressure to have kids and the stigma that can come with infertility, especially in some African communities.
It's like he's giving Yahia a new way of seeing things.
He is. He's saying, hey, look beyond just the personal. Think about the bigger picture, the societal forces at play here.
So it's not just about him and his wife. It's about all these other factors that are influencing her reactions.
Right. And instead of just defending his friendship with his ex, Zack's like, hey, focus on your wife's fears.
That makes sense. Address the root of the problem.
Acknowledge her anxieties. Reassure her that she's valuable, loved.
And that her worth isn't tied to having children.
Exactly. And this is where Zach's advice gets really interesting. It's not just for Yahia, it's for anyone who's ever felt insecure in a relationship.
Oh, I like where this is going.
He talks about how our past experiences, they shape us, sometimes in ways we don't even realize.
Like baggage we carry around without even knowing it.
Yeah. And he suggests Yahia's wife might be dealing with what they call an anxious attachment style.
Oh, yeah, that can make it really hard to trust and feel secure.
And it's not about saying, oh, she's got this problem.
Right.
It's about understanding what might be going on beneath the surface so you can approach the situation with more empathy.
Exactly. It's like, okay, I see why you might be reacting this way. Let's work through this together.
And that leads to a crucial part of his advice. Zack tells Yahia to be super clear that having more kids, it's not his main goal.
Oh, that's huge, especially given the cultural context.
It is. He's saying, reassure your wife that she is enough just as she is.
That's a powerful message, and it challenges that whole societal expectation that a woman's value is tied to having children.
It does. And it can help create a more secure and fulfilling relationship for both of them.
Yeah, because if she feels secure and loved for who she is, that's got to take a lot of pressure off.
So we've talked about Yahia's wife's perspective.
Right.
But now let's look at what Zack tells Yahia directly about navigating this whole relationship with his ex while reassuring his current wife.
Okay, this is the tricky part.
It is, and Zack doesn't shy away from it. He talks about that pressure to cut ties with exes, especially in some African cultures.
Yeah, it's like that whole burn the bridges mentality. But it sounds like Zach's got a different perspective on that.
He does. It's fascinating. It's like he's saying, hey, why not try being respectful and understanding instead of just cutting people off?
Right. It's pretty different from how a lot of people think about exes, especially with that whole burn the bridges thing.
Exactly. But Zack says that can do more harm than good.
Oh, yeah. How so?
It can lead to all this resentment, make it tough to raise kids together, and even stop kids from having a good relationship with both parents.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like you're just creating more problems.
And he says, instead of trying to erase the past, we should focus on what's happening right now.
So, like, accepting things as they are.
Exactly. And Zack thinks Yahia can actually show his son what a good relationship looks like by being respectful to his ex.
Oh, so it's setting a good example for his kid.
Yeah, and creating a more stable family.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of it that way.
And get this, Zack says we don't need to pretend our past relationships never happened.
Really? Isn't that kind of like ignoring a part of who you are?
Yeah, but Zack says those relationships, even the ones that ended, they made us who we are today.
That's interesting.
Right. Instead of seeing them as failures, he says they're valuable, like learning experiences.
So it's like they taught you something, even if it wasn't all sunshine and roses.
Exactly. And he even uses Yahia's own story as an example, remember?
Oh, yeah. He and his ex built a life together, right?
They did, and now they're co-parenting in a healthy way.
So it shows it's possible to appreciate those good parts of a past relationship.
Without messing up your current one.
And that all those romantic relationships you've had, they're not like taking away from each other.
They're all part of who you are.
That's a good way to think about it.
And the best part is, Zack doesn't just talk about these big ideas. He gives Yahia practical advice.
Oh, so he's not just all talk. He's got some real-world solutions, too.
Yeah, he says involve your wife in your interactions with your ex.
So, like, be open about it.
Be transparent. Show her she's the priority.
And it's not about arguing or dismissing her concerns.
Right, it's about making her feel safe. Respected.
Yeah, so she knows she can trust him.
Okay, ready for this?
Hit me.
He tells Yahia to say nice things about his ex in front of his wife.
Wait, really? That seems kind of risky.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But Zack says it shows he's not hiding anything.
Oh, so he's secure enough in his current relationship.
Exactly. It's disarming.
And he's taking away the power of what she might be imagining.
It's like he's saying, hey, I can appreciate that my ex is a good person because that part of my life is over. I'm with you now.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
It shifts things from suspicion to trust.
Openness.
And lastly, Zack says create a positive environment for everyone.
Especially Yahia's son, right?
Yes. He says see his ex and her partner, if she has one, as part of the extended family.
So it's like a bigger definition of family.
It is. He says kids do best when they've got lots of loving adults around them.
And it doesn't matter what happened between the parents romantically
Right, it's about putting the child first.
and working together.
This is where I think Zach's advice really shines. He's talking about more than just this one situation.
It's like he's encouraging everyone to think about relationships differently
To be more compassionate.
and understanding.
And to see that families can look different.
It's not always just the traditional mom, dad, and kids.
But what do you think? What stands out to you the most from all this?
Well, Zach really gets it, He understands the culture, but he also knows about psychology.
Yeah, he's not saying culture doesn't matter, but he's saying there's more to it.
Like anxieties and past experiences.
Attachment styles.
He's not saying, here's the answer, do this.
Right, he's saying, think about all these different things.
And I really like how he talks about seeing things from a different perspective.
Oh, yeah, he is seeing his wife's reactions as fears and insecurities, not attacks.
It's about understanding why she's acting that way.
And responding with empathy.
Exactly. It creates space for them to grow closer.
And he says we all need to be more self-aware.
Oh, to look at ourselves and how we might be contributing to problems.
And be mindful of how our actions affect our partners.
So it's like he's saying, before you go trying to change someone else, look at yourself first.
See how you might be part of the problem.
Because healthy relationships, they take work from both people.
Not just talking and compromising, but looking inward, too.
It's like being responsible for your own baggage.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm wondering how we can all learn to be more understanding in our relationships.
Yeah, how can we accept those messy parts of being human and still build strong, healthy connections?
And I think that's a great question for everyone listening, too. Yahia's story, it really makes you think about all kinds of relationships.
Yeah. Not just romantic ones.
Right, like how all these things we've talked about, they play a part in all sorts of connections.
Absolutely. We saw how cultural expectations matter and personal histories and anxieties.
It's like relationships are always changing.
Yeah, they're not just set in stone.
And you have to be willing to understand and adapt.
It's like a dance, You got to move with your partner.
I like that. And what really stuck with me is how much Zack talked about empathy.
Yeah, he's not about those quick fixes.
He's saying, really try to see things from the other person's perspective.
Understand what's driving them, what their fears are.
It's about seeing your partner as a person.
With their own thoughts and feelings.
Not just a problem to be solved.
And that's something we can all think about,
It is. So I'm curious, what are you taking away from all this?
Well, I think a lot of us have been in situations where culture played a part.
Yeah, those expectations can be tough.
Or maybe you've had to deal with your partner's past.
It can be hard to reconcile that with your own relationship.
And we've all had our own insecurities, right?
Absolutely. Those anxieties can creep in.
Yeah, his story, it shows that we're all figuring this stuff out.
Yeah, and we all bring our own baggage to the table.
Cultural norms, personal histories, it's all mixed in.
So how can we be more compassionate?
Curious about each other.
Look beyond the surface.
Because sometimes conflict can actually be a good thing.
Oh, how so?
It can help you grow, understand each other better.
Lead to a deeper connection.
Exactly. It's not always a bad sign.
So, as we wrap up, I want to leave everyone with this thought. How can we change the way we talk about relationships?
How can we be more open to all the different ways people connect?
Acknowledge the past, but still focus on building something good now.
Embrace the messiness, because that's part of what makes us human.
It's about understanding, supporting, and really seeing each other.
And remember, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep asking questions.
Because relationships, they're always worth the effort.